Hi, Simon here again, and we're going to do the ring cycle, a ride around the city centre of Sheffield. It's a ride you can do in maybe half an hour, but maybe a bit longer, maybe a bit less. We're going to do it fairly quickly. Once again, we're videoing this during the coronavirus crisis, so a lot less traffic, universities closed, a lot less people around, but much fewer students. Normally you'd find this to be much busier, particularly this area around the university. So this is the new scheme that's been put in conjunction with the council and the university. You'll see that you've got this dedicated cycle track. It has got this little curb lip on it, and you need to be careful to keep off that, especially if you're veering around groups of students that you would normally find around here. You've got the information commons coming up on the left, which is quite a busy area, and the new route veers round to the left. What used to happen many years ago was that there was a cycle crossing straight ahead of you there, and that got taken out when the tram was built, and it's been a bit of a debacle for many years, but we do finally have this quite good new crossing. Normally you do have to wait a bit, and I will mention that because we're in the middle of the coronavirus crisis and there's not much traffic around, I've been taking a few liberties with the crossing lights, simply because when making a video you don't want to spend too much time just stopped waiting for the lights to change, and editing all those bits out is quite a long-winded process. The idea with these videos is they're quick and dirty, cheap and cheerful. So here we go. Again, along here you would normally find big groups of students, so you'd have to be careful to avoid them without getting caught on those little lips. And yeah, just take care. Ring your bell, sound a warning. The rather controversial diamond building is on your left there. Lots of people don't like the look of it, but actually it's a very nice space inside. So we're going to veer off on the left here onto St George's Terrace. Just got a little bit of cycle path as well as pavement here, and the road that we're adjacent to is, during the rush hour, is the main route out of the area onto the ring road, so it can be quite busy. So we'll pop across this little crossing here, just around to the left, and we're going onto, it's called Beat Street, then onto Upper Allen Street, and then Allen Street itself. Quite a steep hill. One of the reasons we're doing it in this direction is you can get this hill over with pretty quickly in this direction. Going the other way can take a while. On your left here there's a crossing point at the Netherthorpe Road tram stop, which takes you up towards the other end of the university, Walkley, Netherthorpe, that sort of area. Coming up here where there's a road closure, there's a little slip here to get you through. Just make sure you don't come a cropper on those wooden bollards that they've put in, and carry on down. Going down you can get a nice speed. So this also makes quite a nice link between the student residences we've just come through and Callum Island and the National Cycle Network routes that we've got down there, so you can keep your eye out for little signs that direct you in that way. Coming up we will have a turn to the right, but before that we go across Scotland Street, which is also a cycle route between the city centre and the Hillsborough direction, but really you can only get as far as Netherthorpe easily on it. After that it's a bit hilly and up and down, so Penistone Road is probably the best off-road cycle route to get out to Hillsborough. Plenty of new development in this area, as you can see. Traditionally it's a manufacturing area. We're now coming up to the Northern Inner Relief Road. And we're coming into the Callum Island area. There we go. Callum Island is a fast changing area. There's a lot of those traditional pubs, there's the newer bars, food halls, restaurants, lots of new residential, all sorts of things going on there. Great area to wander about. This street is called Bowling Green Street, and at the end we're going to go right onto Alma Street. You'll notice the Grind Cafe on your left here, a nice little cafe. Callum Island Tavern just up that street on the right, and on your left is the Fat Cat, probably the first real ale pub as such in Sheffield, independent real ale pub. Serves food as well. There we go. Sadly closed at the moment. And this area is called Little Callum, but we're now turning left and we're going into Callum Island itself. You wouldn't necessarily know it was an island because it was created by the digging out of a goit to serve the mills and the little mesters that the area used to be covered with, and a lot of that is culverted. But if you look around the area you'll find traces of that. There's the Callum Island Industrial Museum as well behind us, with the famous Little Don engine. And we're taking this route off Alma Street to give you a taste of the riverside. We're also here, we're on a little bit of the North Don Walk, Upper Don Walk or Trail, which is a developing route coming up towards Ooty Bridge, north of Sheffield. So there are two crossings of the Northern Inner Relief Road you can take here. One if you go straight out on Alma Street, and this one if you go straight along Alma Street, that takes you further in towards the city, towards the area called Mill Sands. Again, this was one of the first areas for steel making in Sheffield. This is where it all originated. We've got a nice separated path, so it should be clear for pedestrians which side they should be on, but sadly, what are they like? Anyway, carrying on, this is also National Cycle Route 627, which starts up in Kirklees near Huddersfield and actually ends at Richmond. No, not that Richmond, Richmond in Sheffield, where it joins NCN 67, the Transpennine Trail. But we're going to come off here and take this bridge. To your right there's one of our little pocket parks, which have been created to help alleviate flooding. When there is flooding, the water can back up into the park and no harm done to the adjacent buildings, and that worked quite well in the floods we've had this year. We've come out onto Nursery Street, taken a right. This road doesn't have much traffic actually, even when normal circumstances apply, but as you can see it's dead quiet at the moment. So yeah, we're coming up to an area that's under redevelopment. We're crossing the Wicker here. The Wicker mostly just has taxis and buses on it, but it's still fairly busy. This whole area changed at the time the Northern Inner Relief Road was built. These roads used to be absolutely choked with traffic. That's all been funneled onto the Northern Inner Relief Road, so there's cars around as you can see, but even on a normal day, not that much traffic. And when all the new redevelopment has been completed, that's the Greater Green scheme, Greater Green 2, which you can see bits of on your right. This should be a much more pleasant area. We pass the entrance to the Five Weirs Walk, which is the River Don trail heading north towards Meadowhall there. The river kind of does a loop in Sheffield, and through these works. That area we've just been through as well, that's where all the Sustrans National Cycle Network routes combine and then head off in various directions. You've got Route 6 going towards Rotherham in one way, which we're now following towards the Peak District in this direction. You've got 627 that I mentioned, and also 67 is the link route, which doesn't come through this area, but it's the main Transpennine Trail route through Sheffield over to the north and the east of the city. We're just traversing Park Square here, big roundabout, and using the surface crossings here to get across it. Ponds Forge, the Olympic-sized swimming pool, is on your right. One of the best legacies we've got, I think, from the World Student Olympic Games that were held in Sheffield many years ago. When that barrier is down, there's a little gap you can get through. After this crossing, it gets a bit narrow just because of the width of the bridge here. They've got the River Sheaf underneath us, and then somebody put that advertising hoarding in the way just to make it that bit narrower. They'll take care along this bit. There is an alternative route for the service road of the buildings you can see on the right there. It's a little bit more awkward to get onto. I tend to use that going in the opposite direction. Behind those buildings, the electric works, there is the bus station, Sheffield Interchange. And most of the buildings you can see on the right are Sheffield Hallam University. Station, as you can see, is on your left. So this first crossing is the best crossing to use to get to the station. Can also be very busy, and you have to watch out for pedestrians coming out from your right there. The main pedestrian crossing is the one that we're just coming up to. And this is where we're going to switch. We're going to come off Sheaf Street, and we're going to leave National Cycle Network Route 6, which goes straight up, the route you can see ahead of you, Howard Street. So we'll go left on here, on to Paternoster Row, and the road scheme here is known as the Knowledge Gateway, and we're in the Cultural Industries Quarter. As you can see, you've got nice wide bike lanes on either side, but of course nothing to actually physically separate them from the traffic, so there can be people turning round, cars stopped on them, etc, etc. Nevertheless, still quite a decent bike route. Okay, veer around to the left here. Watch out for cars and buses coming around there. it says stop here, and I would strongly advise on a normal day that you do stop, or at least have a very good look, because that's one of the main routes for traffic to get into the city centre. I'm just going to pass these two here. And at the end here you're coming onto Eyre Street. On your left there, that's the back entrance to Decathlon, so that's handy if you need any bits for your bike, etc. And then what you want to do is come off onto this shared use path before you get to the lights here. That's good. Make your way over to the cycle lane, and here you just have to watch out for this traffic indicator board that some idiot thought it'd be a good idea to put in the middle of the bike route. Especially if you're coming along there at night, do just watch out for that. I'm going to veer over here because I'm going to go over that crossing. Wind my way round. And although there's a demarcated bike route along this little section of the pedestrianised street, people don't really stick to it, but I do. Okay, take a left. Slightly strange arrangement where the pedestrian crossing is also the cycle crossing and access point. Traffic is, shall we say, discouraged from using this route, so fairly low traffic area. Taking the right and the little slip onto the cycle route again. Okay. We're coming up to St Mary's Gate. So again, we're alongside the ring road. Bit of a pity that the cycle route surface here isn't as good as the road surface that's just to your left. Perhaps one day it will be. And we're going to go through the subway on Moore Street. As it says, slow, good idea, and do give a warning of some sort that you're entering the subway. If you've got a bell, use it. If you haven't got a bell, get one. But perhaps a little whistle or just a little shout of bike coming through may help otherwise. You can see that it does work. Watch this pedestrian ahead of me now. Yeah, they got the message. Okay. When you turn to the right here, you've got a little bit of a steep climb here to get back up to ring road level. So make sure you're in the right gear, get a nice low gear ready. You shouldn't have been in a high gear anyway because you were going through the subway at a slow speed, right? This section of the ring road, Upper Hanover Way, actually has cycle lanes on both sides of the road, so you've got a choice there. I think of the two, this is the better one, certainly for this lower section. Got Exeter Drive, flats on your left. Coming out to the crossing here, this is where a new cycle route is being developed. That takes you to the Hallam campus, the collegiate site. There's a new cycle crossing coming up there. Hopefully they can straighten it out a bit, because it's a bit of a palaver at the moment. And the last bit, quite a pleasant bit of route. Trees overhanging. Still climbing. You remember we went down Allen Street. Now we're coming back up to the same height, but a much easier gradient. Okay, the video's going to end soon because I ran out of my 20 minutes recording time. What you can do from the top here, Broomspring Lane, is take a left and then take a right onto Brunswick Street, make your way up to the top, and you're at the University Central Campus again. So that's your lunchtime ride sorted. Hope you enjoyed it. Of course you can join it at any point going round, don't have to be at the university.